Hi, and welcome to the Richmond Art Gallery School Art Program at Home. We will be looking at the work of Karin Jones, a Canadian artist whose work is part of the Art Gallery's current exhibition, Labor's Trace. Then we're going to learn a technique for making beads out of paper and how to make a wearable artwork. But first, we're going to hear from Karin when she's going to talk a little bit about her background and the works that she has as part of our current gallery exhibition.
Hi, my name is Karin Jones, and I'm an artist working primarily in jewelry, but I also work with other craft media. And I'm born and raised in Vancouver, and I'm still based here. So the exhibition that's up right now is a series of 8 neck pieces that I created using traditional jewelry techniques, but using non-traditional materials. So I've used some materials such as steel and organic materials like corn and human hair. And I've incorporated them into these steel neck pieces as an expression of African identity as a woman of African descent living in North America. So when I first started making this work, I was thinking about identity as something that we wear, and whether it's something that we can choose to wear, that we put on and take off, or whether it's something that's somehow attached to us by the identities that society places on us. And so for me, as a woman of African descent in North America, I feel that the narrative of slavery is a really strong one, and it's one that I've always felt through pop culture and literature, something that's so strong, it's almost always attached to us. So by making these neck pieces, I was starting to question whether we chose to wear that history with a sort of pride, because we are proud somehow that our people have survived that. But then there's also sort of a questioning of whether that's something that's been placed on us. And I started to wonder if I was making these pieces because I was thinking about the relief that would come from taking them off, rather than the idea that I actually wanted to wear this history. And also just thinking about how would you adorn yourself if you really had nothing? Like if you had no access to precious, beautiful materials, and would you be looking around for things with which to adorn yourself that could be quite beautiful in their own right? And even, especially, I've used a type of corn called hominy, which is these really large kind of white kernels, which would have been a staple in the American South and still is. But I also saw the similarity between those kernels of hominy and the cowrie shells that you see in a lot of African art and jewelry. So I was thinking a little bit about if you didn't have access to the things that were precious to you, would you look around and adorn yourself with the things that are around you?
Now, the works that we have in the exhibition, although they are beautiful wearable pieces, and Karin is a jewelry designer, the pieces are not meant to be worn. But what we're going to do today is we're going to take that idea of looking around yourself, trying to find those things in your environment that you could make something out of, like Karin is imagining her ancestors might have done, looking for things to adorn yourself with, make something beautiful. So right now, a lot of us don't have the opportunity to get out and go to stores, buy the things that we would like. So we really have to get creative with how we can make things using the materials we have at home. And it was from both artists' work, Amy Malba from the last Art at Home video and Karin Jones, that I came up with this idea of making paper beads. Now, I didn't invent the technique of making beads out of paper. There's a lot of fantastic videos online, and people have been making beads out of paper for quite a long time. But it was that idea of using a technique, using materials we all have at hand to make something beautiful and creative that you could wear. So without further ado, this is how you can make your own beads. So to do this project, you will need markers or crayons or pencil crayons, anything to color with, scissors, a ruler, pencil, glue stick or white glue, and some paper. The first thing you're going to need to do is measure out the size of the bead you would like. Now today we're going to be making 3-centimeter beads, but you could make smaller beads. You could make 2-centimeter or 1-centimeter beads. Decide how big you would like your beads, and then on the long side of your piece of paper, what you'll do is you will measure out those lengths. So in my case, I will be measuring out 3-centimeter lengths. Now I'm just going to transfer the marks to the edge of the paper because we have to draw from edge to edge. Next, on the top of the paper, what you're going to do is divide that measurement in half. So in my case, half of 3 centimeters is 1.5. So I'll measure 1.5 centimeters in from the edge, and then I will just continue marking off 3-centimeter marks. Now we need to draw a line from one mark to the next, and it creates diagonal lines across our paper. Now, this piece at the edge won't be used, so I'm drawing a little X on it to remind myself. When you're done drawing your lines, you'll end up with a whole series of triangles. Once you've done all your triangles, flip your paper over, and on this side you're going to add color to create whatever colors or patterns you want to have on your beads. For my beads, I decided to use markers, but you could use any technique you would like, whether you have crayons at home or pencil crayons, whatever works for you. Now you don't have to be super neat with this, and you don't have to fill in the whole area. I actually found I created some really nice patterns and really nice beads just kind of by doing some scribbles. Once you've colored your paper, what you need to do is you need to cut along the lines so that you end up with a series of triangles. Throw away any pieces that aren't triangles, and when you flip it over, you'll see the colors and the patterns that will make up each individual bead. Now for my beads, I decided that I wanted a large opening so that it would be easy to string the beads onto some yarn. So I decided to wrap the paper triangles around a pencil, and that gave me a very large opening. If you would like a smaller opening, use something smaller than a pencil, like a toothpick or a bamboo skewer. So before you start rolling, take out your glue stick or get some white glue and get it ready. So I turn out a little bit of glue so that it's ready to be used, because it's kind of awkward when you're rolling. Now start rolling your paper around your pencil, and you'll notice if you let go, it starts to unroll. So it might be a little tricky. You might want to ask for a little help with this if you're having trouble. Now, as you're rolling, you want to pay attention to whether or not your triangle is starting to go sideways. You want it to be roughly in the middle. So you can always start again and start rolling so that the triangle point ends up in the middle as you're rolling it. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to be roughly in the middle. Once it's in the middle, you'll take your glue stick or a little bit of finger of white glue and then just put it down so that it will hold the paper in place so that you can move it and not worry about it unrolling. So if you need to move it around, it'll hold it. And I like to use a piece of scrap paper or a flyer for doing the rest of the gluing. So if it gets untucked, just pull it tight and then continue rolling your bead until it gets close to the end, and then add some glue to the final part of it. and then finish rolling the bead. I like to smooth out the end. Now you can leave your bead to the side to dry, and once it has dried, you're going to want to very carefully slide it off your pencil or whatever you've rolled it around. So here it's a little bit tight, and then you just slide it off. Once you have all of your beads made, then you're going to want to string them together. You might make a bracelet, an anklet, or a necklace like I've done. I decided to lay out my beads to create the pattern I wanted to make first before stringing them on. And that way I knew whether or not I needed to make any extra beads and how long my necklace would be. And once you've strung them all on and you're happy with your design, just tie a knot and you're done.